Yo, what's up guys? So I haven't made a settings video in a while, and I know I see this comment the most out of any comment probably, like what are your camera settings? What is your sensitivity? What is all that stuff? So I'm gonna dedicate this video to doing that, because the last one I made was probably like, I want to say it's probably 2 years ago. That was just like a straight up settings video to like kind of like show you guys what I've been using for a while. And this is what I've been using since Sweden. And I'll probably stay on it, to be honest. I'll probably end up using this even for the LA major that's coming up soon. So we'll get into it first. So our camera settings, we got 110, FOV. And these are the ranges in which I think are usable. I'll just give you guys the ranges for each setting that I think are usable and what you should mess with if you are not happy with the settings that I'm currently using. This is what I think is viable in professional play. So I would say 108 to 110 is usable still. 260 to 290, I'd say. Nah, I want to say 260 to 280. Justin's actually using 280 again. I think he's one of the only players, like very good players, that's using 280. So 260 to 280. I use 270. He's in the middle of that. Height, I'd say anywhere between, even 80 is kind of viable. I think there's some EU players that use 80. I would say anywhere between like 80 and 110 is usable, but I would stick between 90 and 110 to be safe. I'm using 100 though, so I'm using in the middle of that as well. Angle, I would say anywhere between -5, -3 is always where you want to be. This is like the sweet spot. Not many people mess with angle too much though. I feel like this is kind of a setting that hasn't really been messed with all too much. If you put it all the way to -15, it kind of messes with your perception of things. You can see it makes it look a little bit weird. So I wouldn't really recommend doing that. That's why it's always been kind of around the -3 to -5 margin. 0. I actually remember I messed with 0 for a bit and I kind of liked it, I thought. But it's been so long that I don't remember. I don't think it's worth it though. It kind of like messes with your perception, like the way. Yeah, it feels weird. Like I already feel like I'm alienating weird. I would definitely stick this around -3 to 5. I'm using 4 right now though. I'm using in the middle of that. So I'm using about in the middle of every setting I've told you guys. It's kind of like the middle of what's viable in pro play or what most people are using. I'll go through the rest of the settings. I got carried away. Hold on. Okay. Stiffness. This one's a little bit of a weird one. There are some people that use even low, like super low, like 20 or 30. I would say this goes anywhere between like 20 to like 70, 75 is like viable. Anywhere between there. I'm using 40. Most pros I'd say use between 40, 45. Around there. There's quite a few that use 60. There's a couple that use like 30, but most of the time you're gonna want to be aiming for around 40, 45. Transition speed. This one I recommend having like between 1 and 1.3. I don't really think it's worth breaking your neck every time you want to get a boost. Kind of hurts my head. Like I'd get a headache if I'm playing like this all day. I don't know if it's because I'm getting old. I mean, I am 21 now, but I don't know if it's because I'm getting old. But this is breaking my neck every time, so I wouldn't recommend having it that high. I'd put it to like 1.2, 1.3, where it's fast. Like the transition's fast, but it's not something that's gonna like bother you. I think that's a good middle ground to have. For swivel speed, this is just how fast you have to move your right stick, or how much it moves your camera when you move your right stick, I should say. I have it right in the middle at 5. Some people have it at 10. Some people have it really low. It doesn't really matter. It's all preference. For me, I think it's a good amount to like snap to someone. If I want to snap to like someone on my left, I can do it really easily like this. But there's some people that like to have it at 10, so you can snap really quick, like instantly, the left to the right. And maybe I might even try to practice with it at 10. The only thing is, my right stick, like my dead zone on my right stick, is kind of messed up. I think like the stick's just a little bit old, so it starts to like do this little like shaking thing where it does like this on its own. So the higher my swivel speed would be, like the more I'd probably see that kind of shaking motion, if that makes sense. So I don't want to have that too high, but you can literally use whatever you want for that. I don't think it matters all that much. Now for sensitivity, this one's changed quite a lot throughout the years. People used to use 0.1 controller dead zone and like default steering and aerial. This is what I used to use when I was like in conversation for best player in the world 2017. This is literally my settings, and I use default controller dead zone. But it's changed a lot, and these days I think the majority of people use 0.05 and around 1.3, 1.4, something like that. I've been using 1.4 for a while. There are some people that even use 4 sensitivity. You can use whatever you want for sense, But it's more just make sure you feel like you have control. You should be able to very easily control the ball on your car. Be able to do minor adjustments, but also major adjustments like very easily. And just feel like you shouldn't feel sluggish is the main thing you should be aiming for. Try to not feel like you're turning through like molasses or something when you're turning. That's like the main thing you should be aiming for, honestly. Try to feel like you have some fluidity to your movement, and if you have that, then that's your sense. But you shouldn't be shaking too much. Like if I raise this to like 5 cents and try to dribble, you would see how much my car just shakes randomly, and it's just very difficult for me to actually control like micro movements, especially in the air. I would accidentally like air roll, for example, on high sense. So I don't know how people like Monkey Moon actually can control their car on that sensitivity, especially at land, like a situation where you might be a little bit more nervous or more prone to shaky like hands. I feel like it's got to be a little bit difficult, but I prefer to stick to the low consistent sense. I feel like it's always going to feel the same. You'll never have like peaky days. You'll have days where you just feel really solid, and that's what I want for my team, and that's what I want out of my sensitivity and my feel of my game every day. I don't want to get on and feel like I might be insane one day or I might just suck the next. I want to always feel like I'm consistent, and I do feel that way when I use the sense that I'm using. So I recommend just messing with it and just trying to see what feels good to you. But it's really all about just finding what's right for you, because you can use my sense and it could feel terrible, and then you can use something weird like 5 cents and then it feels right to you. So I think just try it out, see what's good for your controller as well, because that makes a difference. Some of your controllers might be super new, might be super stiff. Some of them might be old, and you might need to actually use a much lower sense because your sticks might be super sensitive. So the more stiff your sticks are, the higher sense you can probably feel viable using, because your sticks will be, a lot less sensitive to micro movements and like little touches on your stick and stuff like that. Anyway, dodge dead zone, this is still like kind of the same thing as it's always been. 0.7 is kind of like what everyone uses. Some people use more toward like the 0.5 range, 0.55, but I would say like 80% of pros, maybe more, use 0.7 around there. And there's no reason for this really. It's just like, it's a good middle ground to not accidentally backflip, because some people, if you have this too low and you're trying to fast aerial like this, like if you're doing a fast aerial, you might accidentally backflip if you have it too low. Like if your thumb like accidentally presses the stick while you're doing that second jump. It's actually hard for me to like accidentally do it, but you know what I mean. That's like the biggest thing probably in pro play when it comes to aerials is your fast aerial game. And if you can't do that without backflipping, that's gonna be really difficult for you. So that's like incorporated in pretty much anything aerial related, unless you're going for like a flip shot. But anyway, I would say keep that around 0.7. It's a really good point to have that. Interface, had this the same for years, 100, 100, 140. I use this at 150, 140 for nameplate scale. Some people use 100, some people use even 80. I recommend having this a little bit higher. I think it's useful. I think it's a useful thing to learn the length of the nameplate and what it looks like behind the ball, when the ball covers the nameplate completely, how close the car is to it, stuff like that. That's stuff I've thought about over the years. But 140 to 150 I think is the best to use for this. I use 150 or 140 depending on if I feel like I'm playing too much based on the nameplate, then I'll lower it. If I feel like I'm not using the nameplate enough, then I'll raise it. It's like a little weird placebo thing. That's the only thing I'm kind of placeboed about. Everything else here you guys should copy. Default time updates only, so it doesn't get in your way. Connection quality indicators off. Color by mode, I used it at Sweden actually. I actually liked it a lot, the way it looked. It changes the color of the nameplates and some other stuff, but obviously it's good if you're colorblind. So if you are colorblind, you should use this. Force default team colors, I have that on, so you don't have to use the team stuff when you're in game, because that's not very fun for me. I don't like it. Off, 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 and ball error on. Some people have this on, the little red thing on the bottom left. I kind of like it. It reminds me of when I first got the game. Maybe I'll stay with it on. I haven't really looked in these settings for a while, but maybe I'll stay with that on. It's pretty good. I'll leave it. Video, obviously native res. I'm not going to use stretch res for a game like this. Not going to be beneficial to me. Everything lowest quality. The only thing I'd change here ever, always make sure you have transparent goalposts on, because this is very useful in a competitive aspect. World detail, I'd have this high sometimes. That changes the grass to make it taller, so my wheels go into the grass. It also makes it so when I slam the ball really hard, There's going to be multiple ball trails behind it. I don't know if you can see that. Compared to when I take that off, just one ball trail that comes out of it. I kind of like the multiple one more, I think. Also reminds me of when I first got the game. Makes me a little bit nostalgic more than anything. I used to think that the multiple ball trails helped me read stuff more off the back wall and stuff like that. But no, it's all like, a lot of these things are very preference based, but this is a very good like baseline to use because I've been playing for a long time. I've tried out like every setting, I feel like by now. Playing for over 14,000 hours at this point, and I've tried out for sure every single setting, so it's definitely a good baseline of what you guys should be using. Audio doesn't really matter, again, it depends on your computer, your headset, how loud everything is. I have 2112, they look cool, 2.1 then 1.2 backward, I don't know. Didn't know what to put. But it's a good middle ground and it sounds good to me. And yeah, that's pretty much everything, guys. I hope this was useful to you, and I hope you guys can use this and refer to this every time you're wondering what settings to use. And the ranges I gave you guys, especially for the camera settings, just mess around with those. Anything within there is definitely more than viable. You can use some weird thing in that range, like 108, 280, 90, -3, and use like 0.55. Like anything, like even this. This is very usable. Very, very usable. Actually feels good. I'm not gonna lie. Actually feels nice. It's that easy to make a good camera setting. So you can even come up with camera settings and let me know them in the comments, and I'll try some out. You guys find any ones that feel really good. That's a good example of just how you can make a camera setting that easy. Like, be unique, be an individual when it comes to it, and try to, if you like how an angle feels, keep that angle. If you don't like the height, okay, mess with the height, go to 110. If you don't like this distance, okay, lower it to 260. If you don't like the FOV, okay, raise it to what you like, and then keep the elements of the settings that you actually like, and you'll eventually get the setting that you want. So look at that, I'm still able to play with it because it's all within that range. That's how you can find the perfect settings for you, and hopefully you guys enjoyed this video. Have yourself a wonderful day or night, whatever time it is when you guys are watching this. Like, comment, subscribe, and see us all in the next one. I love y'all. Peace.